I had this one NDE. I'm a spear fisherman, uh, and it was a classic one where life flashing before my eyes, and uh, a, it was a shark attack. But the point was afterwards, a guy asked me, "Do you think that was a spiritual experience, seeing all this stuff flashing before your eyes?" And I said, "No." Um, and here's why. Because it was a cool experience, right? I literally all my things flashing in front of my eyes, and I think that's like a chemical that gets pushed into your brain, and all your stuff gets pushed together. But I, in that moment, I'm like, okay, that's just a bunch of information. That's not serving me. And I literally treated it like a Google search engine. I'm like, okay, well, I'm in this moment. The shark's biting on me. I'm drowning. What can you tell me with the information I've got about sharks? And so I literally go, what do I have about sharks? So all the information, I pulled everything up about sharks in my mind, and it didn't help because all the stuff I had around sharks was just me being scared of sharks. Because I grew up on the west coast of South Australia where all the big great whites were. So I grew up like screaming with nightmares of sharks. Um, and I'm like, well, that's no good. Okay, well, let's try this. Let's try predatory animals. So I put that into the search, and I came back with a friend of mine called Wes. Now, you've probably heard of this, the crocodile hunter, Steve Irwin.
Yeah.
Okay, so his right-hand man is called Wes, and him and I are jiu-jitsu buddies. And a few years back, he got bit in the ass by a crocodile, a big boy, and I go to visit him in hospital. And in the hospital, so in my NDE, I'm in the hospital room with Wes, clear as day. And what he said to me gave me context and brought me into the moment. He said, and I asked him, so what was it like? He says, Tim, it was funny. For years, I was scared about, Crocs and honestly wondering what it would be like. And here it was actually happening. It was sort of like, it was almost relaxing. And then I took that information and I went back into the moment like, yeah, wow, my whole life I've been worried about this one thing, and here it is actually happening. And it's actually kind of relaxing, like it's finally happening. It's no longer this thing that's chasing you. It's actually got you, right? Um, and this thing wasn't letting go. I was stabbing this thing in the eye. And the only thing that saved me was I was wearing this thing on my leg called a shark shield, which is like an electrical device. And dumb me, I didn't have it turned on, but the on switch was inside where it was biting, like it was biting on my leg, and just in the corner of its mouth, it couldn't quite close, and the on switch is in the mouth. I'm like, bugger it, I'm about to die here. I might as well lose my finger. So I stick it kind of in the corner of its mouth, and I'm feeling around inside its mouth for the on switch, and then I find it and I flick it on, and then boom, the thing lets go. So I get to the surface. It was probably the sweetest tasting air I've ever tried. Um, but afterwards, someone said, "Was that a spiritual experience?" And I'm like, "No," because it was just everything I've seen from my own perspective. It was cool in the way that it was presented, but it was nothing new. And I said, if that was truly a spiritual experience, I wouldn't you wouldn't just be a chronological order of events. I'd see one event and how it affected, say, two other people, and then maybe four, and all that ripple effect. A bit like a bee. It just wants to make honey, but do you think it actually knows that it's pollinating that plant, making fruit for the plant, making animals for the eat the fruit, making animals that eat the animals that eat the fruit? Like this whole chain of events outside of its one natural desire to move forward. So I and this is to me what faith is. Faith isn't knowing whether God exists or not, because he simply does or he doesn't. Uh, Faith to me is knowing that my average everyday life is creating this powerful and positive impacts either side of me. Now I can't see them with the eyes that I have, but I believe we've all been given that compass where if we do the things that give you joy, that make you feel good, that light you up, like they're the things that are having these effects outside of you. And I do have the faith to think that when I get to the other side, God's going to go, hey, Tim, here's your life as you saw it. And he'll show what I've already seen. And he'll say, here's your life as you didn't see it. And he'll show all these, ripple effects that I never even knew was there. They just felt good to do, and I felt led to do, and it didn't make sense at times. Like, why the hell am I doing this? But God knew that. And I also have a faith to know that, he'll show the good and he'll show the bad. He'll cover the bad with grace, and you know, work through. And so this is, that's sort of what faith to me is, knowing that as we move forward, there are these powerful things happening either side of us. And I guess that was the most powerful thing I got from that, that NDE. Yeah.